Nike got woke and then nothing happened. Seriously. Now, the story you're looking at right now, for those that are listening, it says Colin Kaepernick spurs Nike stock after it pulled Betsy Ross flag sneaker. And this is the information war. It's how the game is played. If the stock went down, the people on the right or the anti-woke individuals, because they're not necessarily right-wing, would say something like, aha, get woke, go broke. Now that stock is going up, the left is saying, aha, Colin Kaepernick helped Nike, when in reality, no, nothing happened. But I will say this, Ducey of Arizona is a bit spineless, I guess, flip-flops on Nike and welcomes the company to Arizona. Yes, because what we're seeing is one big virtue signal. Everyone's trying to claim they're winning, but let me just stress, one thing I've said time and time again is that people care more about Game of Thrones than they do politics. And if I was going to have to assess what's going on here with Colin Kaepernick, the pulling of the Betsy Ross shoe, and why their stock is going up, it's because Nike stock goes up, as does the stock of every other company gradually. What this says to me is that people don't care for the most part. Now, that may be disheartening to many people who are upset that the American flag shoe was removed, but it is what it is. For those that aren't familiar with the story, quick recap. Nike was going to put out this shoe with the American flag on it, the original American flag, the Betsy Ross flag, and they pulled it because Colin Kaepernick was offended. This offended a lot of other people. Now listen, Nike stock is going up. They did miss projections, but other shoe companies did too. It seems like ultimately nothing happened. That Nike is such a big company, a story like this isn't really going to make a dent. I mean, Nike sells shoes in other countries too, so their stock probably isn't going to be moved by one US-based story. But there's a bit more here, because I mentioned that the governor of Arizona has flip-flopped, welcoming Nike to Arizona when he recently criticized them for pulling the shoe and said that he wanted to pull their tax incentive or whatever. Well, apparently now that's not happening. But before I get too critical, I like to read the news with you guys. So here's what we'll do. Let's read how the left, it's a more woke perspective, is embracing Colin Kaepernick, acting like he did something well, and then move on with other updates. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a monthly PayPal option, a crypto option, and a physical address. But of course, the best thing you can do, just share this video, because I rely on you sharing it on social media, as YouTube has now deranked all independent commentary, making it harder for us to build our audiences without your support. So if you like the content, please share it, but let's read on. Forbes writes, shares of Nike are rising after former NFL star and activist Colin Kaepernick convinced the company to pull its Air Max 1 USA sneakers from store shelves. Kaepernick's concern over the shoe's Betsy Ross flag designs connection to an era of slavery resonated with investors, as Nike has seen a 2% stock increase and added nearly $3 billion in market value since canceling the kicks. Full stop. Not true. She literally says that this resonated with investors. No, I'm sure they just don't care. And I've said this over and over again. Get woke, go broke is funny, but it is not law. So I have videos where I say get woke, go broke, but it's more reference to an individual or anecdotal instance. And I've stressed time and time again, sometimes getting woke works. There have been movies that have gone woke that have done just fine, and video games as well. It's just a matter of how you do it. Now, here's the thing. What Colin Kaepernick did with this shoe is whiny, lunatic, fringe, woke Twitterati nonsense. Nobody cares. Like, the American flag, the Betsy Ross era, is not a symbol of hate, but sure enough, even the Forbes article tries to link it as such. Most people probably just went to the store and don't pay attention. I'd be willing to bet I could walk outside this building right now, I'm in Norwalk, Connecticut, walk up to a random person and say, did you hear about Colin Kaepernick and the Betsy Ross shoe? And they'll be like, I have no idea what that is. And that's most people. Which means when they go to the mall to buy a pair of, cheap shoes, I don't mean cheap as in bad, I mean like inexpensive mall shoes, not like expensive Air Jordans or whatever the popular Nike shoe is that I don't know about. When they go there, just get like, I don't know, $50 maybe. I don't even know how much Nikes cost. They're just going to buy the shoe. They're going to walk in and be like, I need shoes. I really don't think they're sitting there, Google is searching the political opinions of a shoe company. So no, this is just normal business trucking along. And it shows you that, yeah, to an extent, a lot of us that we talk about culture war issues, it's a bubble. It's those who are on the front line of politics. Now, these things do have a massive impact. We've seen cancel culture get the postponing of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Kevin Hart being removed from what was the Oscars. So it has an impact. It does. It's not like it's doing nothing. It's a serious issue. Some people would say that it's an edge case. It's not important. I think it is. I think where we are right now is the front line. And the things we witness and the things we focus on eventually ripple back and hit everyone else. So right now, no. I do not believe it's fair to say that Colin Kaepernick has given Nike a 2% stock boost by resonating his message with investors. I just don't think they care. And I've got stocks, they've gone up too. Stocks have just gone up. It's a great economy. Let's read on. They say Nike's intention were good as the Air Max 1 USA was created in celebration of the 4th of July holiday for $140. However, the design was ill-advised. Kaepernick noted the early flag with a circle of 13 stars was offensive due to its alleged association with extremist organizations. Complete nonsense. This is, my God, I tweeted about this. Let me tell you something. The Today Show smeared me. It's amazing. And they said something like Tim Pool, the YouTube personality who touted the claim that Seth Rich provided, hacked emails or whatever to WikiLeaks, which is such an absurd lie. And this is what they've done, right? So trust me, this is reference makes sense. What happened is some activist, who hates me, took a live stream that I did and cut out all the context, which really does have a huge impact. So you just hear me saying, I think it's probable that Seth Rich, that's a quote from another era, so I'm going to stop it there. That, they're trying to make it seem like I thought it was real, when in reality what had happened was Fox News put out a report claiming that there was evidence that it was true. And then you had Julian Assange offering a reward, making an insinuation everyone else thought was true, and then Kim.com claiming he had evidence. All of those things happened. And my response was, in my opinion, no, 55 to 65% chance. Specifically, the context being that Fox News definitively reported fake news, and I said, I still don't believe it's true. I won't give it 100%. I won't call it confirmed even with Fox News. What they do is they take the context out where I'm actually saying I doubt the story to make it seem like I support the story. They do the same thing with a claim about InfoWars where, in the stream, I'm basically talking about how Jones was trying to send reporters down to cover the Trump events, and they did a good job of going mainstream. And that's a fact that is not disputed by anyone because they literally say on CNN, this is the InfoWars president. That's literally my point. It's so weird how this happens. They did the same thing, Lauren Duca. And I tremendous respect, Lauren, for going on the Ben Shapiro podcast. I'm not saying this to, I'm not trying to be overly disrespectful. I have tremendous respect. If you're not familiar, Lauren Duca was a former Teen Vogue writer. She's on the left. And she went on the Ben Shapiro podcast, called in, and I tremendously respect that. But what happened was Ben Shapiro made a statement about how Megan Rapinoe, I think I'm pronouncing her name wrong, was getting contracts because she's a tremendous athlete and an openly gay woman, among other things. And his point was not to disparage her, saying she wasn't talented. He was saying it adds to the amount of contracts she's getting. Lauren Duca responded by disagreeing while agreeing at the same time. It's the weirdest thing, where she essentially said she provided an awakening for many, gay babies or something, essentially saying that young gay people can look up to her. And Ben Shapiro was like, you're right, I agree. That was my point. But they frame it in a tribal way where it's like, no, I don't agree. But anyway, I digress. The point I'm trying to make, and I wanted to go on a tangent on that one. This story right here, how they say it was being associated with extremist organizations. Now they do say alleged, and this is the game they play. This is how the fake news gets laundered. The Today Show smeared me, claiming I pushed the Seth Rich conspiracy by essentially expressing my doubt over a report from Fox News and independent media that it was true. And what happens then is you get Deadline, which cites the Daily Beast, which cites NBC, which is citing some random Medium post by an activist who's citing a different activist who took an out-of-context video, and it makes its way to the Today Show. What do we see here? She's saying it's got an alleged association to an extremist organization. And what's the source? Find the source of that information for me. I'll tell you what, it doesn't exist. The source is probably some random Twitter user with a cartoon avatar saying, I once saw a far-right guy with this flag. And then that trickles up and makes its way to mainstream news on Forbes. Journalism is completely dead. So I will say this. Deadline initially wrote that I pushed the fake conspiracy theory. I emailed the editors asking for a retraction and correction. They removed it, so they took all context out, and it said that, guests include Tim Pool, and they removed that qualifier. Respected that, but I asked them to actually add an update to clarify that they removed it and why. And they did this too, adding that other outlets have linked me to the conspiracy, and that I later went onto Twitter to claim that fake news is lying about it because I wouldn't completely believe the report. Context being, specifically, Fox News reported that it was true and there was evidence. And so props to Deadline for making the update. I'm not asking you to push my narrative. I'm just asking you to put out my statement where I deny it. Plain and simple. No one else has done that. There's some other individuals who have apologized, and that's fine. But for the most part, we don't see media ever making these corrections. But let's get to the. I've been going on a tangent about fake news. Basically, I think I made the point on the shoe thing. They're going to now claim, based on dubious evidence, and I do believe this is an op-ed, although it's not labeled as opinion. So great. This is another huge problem in media. Thank you. Look, NewsGuard, you rated them as handling the difference between news and opinion responsibly. Come on, man. But I don't know how many articles qualify an organization for not being responsible. This is an opinion piece. It may have resonated with investors. Your opinion. Okay? All we know right now is that Nike stock has been on the rise, period. We could argue that it took a dip and now it's back up. The other thing that's important to know about how these news organizations operate is that immediately following the announcement about the 4th of July shoe, we could argue that, it took a dip right here. On July 1st, see, it goes down. I don't know when the announcement was made. I don't know why the investors are saying things. But I could have looked at this and then said, look, a day later, their stock went down, and then proclaimed victory, and that's it. Or you could wait 3 days because the stock will recover after the news dies out and then claim we won, victory. It's all nonsense, opinion nonsense, plain and simple. Let me add a couple things. It's all marketing. I tell you what, here I am doing a video about Nike, getting their brand out there. The shoes were selling for a 2,000% increase. People made a ton of money. Congratulations, those who bought the shoe were duped by a ridiculous campaign to generate buzz and then sell. Ricky Gervais is incredible. Trust me, this makes sense. He was on the Sam Harris podcast, I believe it was recently, and he said what you need to realize about clickbait is that they don't care if they look bad. They don't care if you hate them. They just want the money. They want to generate a bunch of outrage, get those clicks, and then what happens is they sell ads against it. That's how it works. So they put out a shoe that no one is offended by. Colin Kaepernick complains and they go, boom, PR opportunity. What happened? Can we say the stock increase is due to this? We can't. There's no evidence. The stock just goes up. We can say jacking up the price on the shoe is the result of it getting taken down. Congratulations, you spent money on trash. So I guess I won't make this one super long. I'll end by saying, we'll end with this story. Let me go through it real quick. Phoenix New Times writes, 1 week after Governor Doug Ducey issued a lengthy rant on Twitter criticizing Nike for discontinuing a shoe featuring a Betsy Ross flag, he tweeted again, this time to welcome the company to Arizona. Seriously? I am embarrassed for Nike, he wrote at 2 a.m. on July 2nd. I'm not going to read through that statement because we get it. We don't need to suck up to companies that consciously denigrate our nation's history. Nike decided to pull the shoe following backlash from former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick, which we all understand. But then apparently he went on to flip-flop saying, this is good news for Arizona and for Goodyear AZ Gov. 500 plus jobs, over $184 million in capital investment. Arizona is open for business. Congratulations. Thanks for sticking to your guns and pushing back on a company. It's absurd that a government actor would publicly criticize or rescind a tax incentive over what a private business does, especially related to speech issues. The government should not be in that business. It's ridiculous. It's also ridiculous to then flip-flop. I gotta say, come on, man, grow spine. I'm gonna leave it there. Point is, get woke. Sometimes nothing happens. Get woke, you do it right, you make money. Get woke or go broke. It's not a law. It's just a funny saying because it's funny when you see these corporations pander. And the left agrees. Lauren Duca mentioned it's called, what did she call it? Rainbow capitalism? Or they call it pink washing. I agree. I hate it too. Right? I'm right there with you. We're on the same side. But for some reason, they try to argue against, for tribal reasons, to cite back to the Seth Rich nonsense. It's like, I agreed with you guys that Fox News was likely wrong. And now you're smearing me because of it, because the real issue here is tribal warfare. I like free speech, and I don't like far-left Democrats, although you can call Tulsi far-left, whatever. I do like Tulsi, I do like Yang, and I really, really like Marianne Williamson, but that's a totally emotional thing. I'll say this. Tulsi Gabbard speaks to me on principle, Andrew Yang speaks to me on intellect, and Marianne Williamson speaks to me on an emotional level. Marianne Williamson comes off like this stern sweetheart of a mom figure, and she's just so hokey and lovey. I really just enjoy seeing her on the debate stage. I wouldn't vote for her, but I think it's like her tweets are so like happy and weird, wholesome, like hippie crystal lady. Tulsi's principled, and so is Yang. And I have tremendous respect. But Yang has this massive list. I'm not going to make a political video. I'll wrap this up. The point is, they don't like me because I criticize the left tribe too much. Tim doesn't criticize the right. Well, listen, I've never cared or paid attention much to what they do because I don't agree with them. We're right now allies in supporting American values like freedom of speech, liberty, expression, etc. I want a future like Star Trek, okay? Like, I watch Star Trek all the time. I'm rewatching The Next Generation right now. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. It is a liberalist future. It is incredible. Post-scarcity, defending freedoms and values. There's an episode I just watched the other day where they're doing like an inquisition to try and find a spy. And they find out that one guy has alien history. His grandfather is part of an alien race they're at war with, or almost at war with. And so they don't trust him. And what happens is one of the characters says if he refuses to testify, essentially on the Fifth Amendment, that proves he's guilty. And Picard says, no, we cannot hold constitutional rights being exercised against people. And the point is, they call it like the seventh, guarantee or whatever. But the Fifth Amendment, when people use that to refuse to self-incriminate, we say it must mean they're guilty, and that is not fair. It is a constitutional right, and everyone can express it. Because I agree with the Constitution, because I think America is a good country, because I like the flag. They don't like me, but guess what? Not a conservative, never gonna be. Unless they rotate the wheel and throw conservatives off the bus, and then moderate leftists who believe in like public healthcare and pro-choice become conservative, which I think is part of the game plan. This is going too long. I'm going to stop here. Stick around. I'll save some of this for my next video, youtube.com/Timcast. It is a different channel, and I will see you all then, 4 p.m.